Good day, poker peeps. This is Sky with Smart Poker Study, coming at you with another hand reading exercise. Today's hand over here on the right was sent to us by Robert, and he said this is the second hand of a PokerStars $215 buy-in tournament. We have a little bit of information on our three villains. The villain, I guess, that we're most concerned about is villain 4, right over here. He also gave me some information here, and we'll get into this as we review the hand. But of course, hand reading exercise, we always do it with Flopzilla. We're going to assign our opponent a pre-flop range of hands, enter our hand in, see what the equity is, enter the board as the board cards come out, and then narrow our opponent's range street by street. So let's get to it. All right, so everybody posted a 5 chip ante. Fold and an open raise. Villain 8 is our open raiser. Very small history with this player. A fold. Villain 10 decides to call. Fold. Villain 4 now calls. Now this is, like I said, our ultimate villain, the one that we're really concerned with. Fold, fold, and then Hero chooses to call right here out of the big blind. So a couple things. First off, we want to assign our number one villain in the hand a range of hands. Now we don't know much about him, right? 13 hands, 31/15, so he has called or voluntarily put money in the pot, I mean to say 4 out of 13 times, and 2 out of 13 he was actually the pre-flop raiser. Not much to go on, but we can put a little bit more thought. Like, we know that this is a $215 tournament. He's also calling in the cutoff after an early position raise and another caller and 3 players yet to act. So his range probably isn't going to be too wide because these players all have a great opportunity now to 3-bet squeeze and take down a decent-sized pot. So he's not going to open himself up too much right here. So we always want to ask the question, what are they doing this with? So what is villain calling? Probably all pocket pairs other than those auto 3-betting pairs. So let's remove queens, kings, and aces from this calling range right here. I think ace-king suited would 3-bet, so I'm not going to put that in the range. But I do see oftentimes players just calling with ace-king offsuit. They want to see that ace or king on the flop, and then they start getting aggressive. But players love ace-king suited, so lots of 3-bets there. So let's give these suited broadways for calling. When it comes to the offsuit broadways, maybe he'll constrict himself here and not call with the offsuit 10s other than the ace-10. So I think he can call with this range, probably all suited aces as well. And let's give him some connectors down to, let's go 8-7 suited. I often see suited 9s calling too right now. They do have the best position as long as this villain folds right here. So he could be utilizing the best position to open his range a tiny bit more. So I'm pretty comfortable with this 18% range for the first caller. Now, Hero decides to call right here with the King of Hearts, 9 of Spades. So you can see Hero has 40% equity against his range. So you might be thinking, hey, not a bad spot to be calling it as well. But before calling, in the blinds, know that you like the flop situation. So before Hero actually puts in that additional 60 chips, he has to realize that, or he should realize that he's ending the action and he's about to see the flop. And he should ask himself, do I want to see the flop with King 9 offsuit versus these 3 players and out of position? If the answer is yes, great, go ahead and make the call. But if it's a different hand, if it's a really ugly Jack 6 offsuit, just because you're getting a good price on your call doesn't mean you should call and put yourself out of position against 3 other players. In general, multi-way pots out of position are losing pots. You're just going to be check folding most of the time. So as long as you're fine with the flop situation you're about to get into, go ahead and make the call. And if Robert's fine with this, I'm good with it too. I don't mind the call at all, especially early on in the tournament. It's the time to kind of mix it up and play some unconventional hands. Hopefully you get lucky and then start building a big stack. Flop comes down, King 9 deuce. Like I said, we're not too concerned with these players because they are going to be folding relatively early, but we are concerned with this player. So at this point, the first thing we want to do is enter the board, and we'll see what our equity does. It's at 40% now, but against this range on the King high board, nice, we jump up. 2 pair, top 2 pair, right? 89% equity against his entire range. So things are looking really good right now. Robert decides to bet out. And down here you could see On the flop, I decided to lead out, hoping to get any ace-king or king-queen type hands to come along. And absolutely, right? If we just think about this opponent's range, he has the king-queen, and ace-king off, not ace-king suited, but ace-king off, king-queen, king-jack, king-10, king-9 chops with you right now. But there are so many weaker top pair hands in the range that you are potentially getting value out of. And it's possible, if you put him on a different range pre-flop, I guess he could have king-deuce also, if you think he's calling a bit wider. If we had more information, if we knew that he was a little bit more fishy, I could put suited kings in his range. But seeing as how this is his range, yeah, there's a good portion that Robert is getting value out of here. And then we get a caller. Hey, that might be one of those hands as well. King 10, maybe even a 9. Ace 9 might make the call for one street, hoping he folds, and then he goes to the turn in position against Hero. Ooh, but then we face a raise right here. So this is where our hand reading or hand narrowing can begin. Clear all of these so we can ask ourselves the question, what is he raising versus this donk bet with? Well, probably raising his sets, 9s and deuces here. His 2-pair hands, king 9 for sure. Top pair, I think all of these for one street being in the best position facing another caller. Maybe if he does have a king 10 or king jack, maybe he thinks that he could be calling with a gut shot, queen jack, queen 10. Maybe he's raising with a queen jack, queen 10 kind of a hand. His raise maybe charges these two players for potential draws, kind of as a protection, or also at the same time a way to get value out of his top pair hand. So I think top pairs could be making this. Pocket pair less, those are often just calling here. They don't like the hand, but they don't want to really believe that Hero has a top pair and has them beat just yet. Mid pairs, I think, whoops, I don't want to put those in. I think they're just calling, not raising. Mid pairs, I think, are just calling. Pocket pair below, all of those are just calling or folding, no made hand. Gut shots, those are just calling or folding. Most of the time, we don't know enough about this player to know that he's capable of bluff raising a gut shot right now. I don't think your average player would make that play. So really, top pairs and sets. If we look at the combo count, he started with 191 combos pre-flop. On the flop now, this raise, we're giving him sets, 2 pair, and top pair of 24 combos. So basically 6 out of 30 or 1 out of 5 beats us. Everything else we're ahead of right now. So it's looking good. So of course, given that range, Hero decides to 3-bet. You know, the initial donk bet was the first bet, call, the 2-bet raise, and then the 3-bet re-raise right here. Villain 10 folds, so we're not concerned with him. Now, Villain 4 is ending the action with his call. We think he's only betting or raising in the first place with sets, 2-pair, and top pair. What is calling right now? Well, we can ask ourselves, sets, totally calling. They don't have to raise. They could be slow playing us. 2 pairs, yeah, king 9. Those could call as well. Just waiting to see the next street. If we check, they're going to bet big for value. If we bet on the turn, maybe raise us all in. So I can see those strong hands slow playing. And the top pairs, we called out of the button. He could put us on deuces or 9s ourselves, or even a king 9 2-pair kind of a hand. He might be really timid now that he got re-raised, but not want to fold just yet. So I really think his entire raising range could be calling now. If you think that he would not call with those weakest kings, king 10 and king jack, actually, let's go ahead and take those out of the range. Let's make him a little bit tighter, a little bit more sensible, but he will call with king queen and the ace king top pair, top kicker. Now that we narrowed his range even more, just 20 combos out of his 191 starting combos, we drop down to 67% equity because he does have those sets and 2 pairs in his range. But look how big that pot is after he calls. 4,700. We only have 2,800 behind. We're pretty darn committed. There's not much that can get us to fold at this point. And Hero says, screw it. I guess a non-card, a non-eventful card, a blank card 3 comes out. He called me on that king high board. I still have top 2 pair. I'm hoping he has ace king, king queen. I'm going to get it in, or I'm going to get it in by betting. And then he ends up calling right here. And if we take a look, when he faced that raise on the flop, Robert actually went through what type of hands Villain 4 would be raising him with, as we did when we were narrowing. Sets were always a possibility, but I reasoned that having king 9 meant he was unlikely to have them which only left the set of deuces. And that's true. As we see, those sets, he only has nines and deuces, 1 pair of pocket nines and 3 pairs of pocket deuces. Most of his range, hero is crushing right now. So I do not fault this one bit. But before we make this kind of play, we do want to ask ourselves, because he's shoving all in, he's shoving for value, what can villain call and give me value with? So on this turn, as soon as that 3 of clubs comes in, our villain has 20 combos in his range. When he shoves right here, what is actually giving hero value? Are all those top pairs given value? I think so. They could easily put villain on a king jack or something, and then ace king and king queen can call. So I think those top pairs are giving hero value. The 2 pairs, well, that's chopping. It's not giving value. And those sets, well, that beats us as hero, right? So basically 14 out of the 20 combos are giving us value, which is pretty darn good. That's a 70% of his range. I don't fault this one bit, but what ended up happening was, yeah, we ran up against one of the 4 combos that villain could have that crushed us right here. So while I don't fault this play at all, it's kind of like a cooler top 2 pair against a bottom set. You always want to, when you're reviewing hands like this, ask yourself these kinds of questions. See if you could have gotten away from it. Was your value bet good? Was your value 3 bet on the flop good? Were you getting value out of plenty of hands? And as you saw in this hand reading exercise, totally. We were getting tons of value. We just ran in to the tippy top of his range. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up down below, and please subscribe to the channel so you can get notified of every new video that hits the YouTube airwaves. Alrighty, I'll catch you in the next one.